Hey minions, welcome to Crank It Up. I'm Jim Price, and on this episode of Calling All Titans, I want to talk about Walking Castle, the native titan of the magical girls. Walking Castle is a bit of an enigma to me lately. I used to think that it was the second best big in Japan titan. Then I thought it was the worst, then the second worst. Lately I've debated if Megabot is actually better, and I'm currently undecided at the moment because there have been some really memorable Walking Castle plays, but also games where it never comes out. I feel like it might actually be the worst. It definitely depends on the player count, as Megabot can actually be really good in 2-player, and it really hurts to say that, whereas he is unusable in 4-player. Walking Castle tends to have much less fluctuation, but it is also the only native titan that does not provide power directly. Even Emperor Penguin does that. Walking Castle can be brought into play in 2 ways. The normal way requires you to sacrifice your regular minion play on a base where you have 2 minions. The other way is to use one of your double features, Coordination, which lets you play an extra minion or play Walking Castle. This lately has seemed odd to me, as it is unlikely that you would play Walking Castle when you had no minions, or only 1 minion, and the extra minion from the action would let you likely have 2 minions so that you could just play Walking Castle with your regular minion. So far, the only meaningful difference I found is that if you play Walking Castle with Coordination, it doesn't count as an extra card, which matters to Eliza, since Titans never count as playing extra cards, despite the fact that they are cards, because that makes sense. Walking Castle comes with both an ongoing ability and a talent. The ongoing ability prevents minions on its base from being destroyed by other players' abilities. As a swarm faction relying on minion quantity, this is really important because they literally have strength in numbers, but it could also mean that the ongoing ability never matters if you are playing against a faction with no destruction. The talent, however, is very powerful. You can move the Titan and up to 3 minions from your current base to another base. Movement is extremely powerful, and this has the added benefit of making it really easy to kill a Titan. If you think about it from the Coordination perspective, it's like playing an action that lets you move 3 of your minions on the same base. While Walking Castle isn't necessarily easy to play, it is easier to play than the other Titans, and the chance to knock those Titans off the board can be crippling. In an exhibition game, I worked really hard to bring out the Arcane Protector, only for Coordination to knock him out when I couldn't bring him back anymore. Also, be really careful with Winter Squashed if magical girls are being used, because Walking Castle can swipe those minions and reposition them on a better base. I made that mistake once, never again. With Walking Castle, I often find that I have to make a decision as to whether or not to use it at the beginning of the game. Do I need the movement? Do I need the immunity? The reason for this is that the magical girls require time to create their engine, and while spreading out can create that time, using your minion plays and winning outright can be faster and more consistent. When I was playing against alien grannies, I had decided that I wasn't going to play Walking Castle because I knew the aliens would never let my minions stay out for that long, so I had to play fast and try to seize my opportunity. Rainbow Rock can deliver both immediate and long-term value with Evolution. Megabot can be played for free with Red Trooper. Gorgonzola gets to come into play much more easily and can immediately provide benefits for doing so. But Walking Castle, you almost need an opportunity to stage it for a future play unless you are using it for its movements immediately. Since magical girls tend to be paired with swarm combinations anyway, it may be okay to sacrifice your minion play if you know that there are other means of playing minions. Walking Castle's movement is a single base repositioning rather than a true convergence. This means that you need to think about what types of swarms can benefit from that one base transition. I don't like Walking Castle that much for the magical girls themselves in isolation, as they don't scatter well since their abilities are diluted as a result. I'd rather take the chance that I can extract some value from their consolidation from the beginning and slow the game down. Despite me saying that I didn't use the Titan in last year's March Smashness game, I do like them with Pirates. This is because the first mates tend to provide the minion quantity necessary for Walking Castle to be played. I can stage first mates on a high breakpoint base, then move them over with a high-powered magical girl to a lower base that I could hopefully get by myself. Having a power-boosting action like Swashbuckling is incentive to use your regular minion play to play the castle so it can boost their power, but using Coordination and dropping someone else works just as well. When you deliver a lot of minions to the magical girls, You can use that minion presence and quantity to break a base quickly. It'd be great if you can keep those minions so that you can do it again. This allows you to overspend on a base and then remove many minions with full sail, so that you can do the same on the next base. For a weaker version of full sail that provides more power, stall tactics, and surprise factor, the Kung Fu Fighters can do the same thing with expert timing. Walking Castle can move your minions to one base to trip the breakpoint, using their power counter transference to break a base unexpectedly. You can load many of those counters onto one particular minion, who will be among those you deliver back and potentially get 2 bases in one turn, because expert timing can activate the talent of Walking Castle. Unlike the pirates, the Kung Fu Fighters don't always use the lower minion plays because they are situational, so giving one up is not the worst thing, and the Kung Fu Fighters are better equipped to defend the Walking Castle anyway. It may only be one talent, but Walking Castle triggers 3 moves. Brojack actually triggers for each minion moved, including himself, even when he did not move, which I've always found odd, but that's how it works. This means that Power Maid can kick off an opposing minion, and Brojack can follow and get 2 power, one for the victim and one for himself. Then, Walking Castle can move the minions to another base, and Brojack would trigger up to 4 more times, once for each minion moved and once again for himself. That's a free 6 power from talents only. The Revenge is the type of play that leads nicely into Walking Castle, saving one of the minions you need. And if you really enjoyed this Brojack play, let me point out that the magical girls have extreme minion recursion, so you can do it the entire game. Walking Castle can also wipe your entire presence on a base, which is convenient for those factions who play catch-up. The halflings can pile up on a lunch run base to draw a lot of cards, then wipe the slate clean using Walking Castle. This combination can sustain this play often, and it makes for a powerful Rude Awakening attack later. Rude Awakening can quickly increase your minion quantity on a base, allowing for a powerful push and destroy. It may cancel the ability of minions played, but it doesn't cancel minions played before then. Double lunch runs were always efficient, but you run the risk of losing them both when the base was gone. Being able to reset the base continually is great, especially since you can sacrifice your regular minion play, but use Shire Marshal to start a chain of other minions. It basically forces a player to not have any presence on that base to prevent you from triggering Shire Marshal. Of course, Power Maid can always force someone to be there. Walking Castle also really shines on bases that grant you extra minion plays. The Homeworld is an obvious candidate, but Secret Garden, Plateau of Leng, and Under the Bed also suffice. Situationally, so can Critter Combat Club. What's interesting is that many of these bases tend to have linear splits, which make them not as efficient to win, so moving all those extra plays to another base is really powerful, particularly for the magical girls who can push, destroy, and reduce the breakpoint. There are some interesting plays you can make with Walking Castle, but they depend on the right synergy, and of the 5 total native titans, this is the one I think is most likely to stay out of the game. That's a bit unfortunate, but I've also wavered heavily on Walking Castle over the years, so maybe that will change again in time. When you play magical girls, you need to decide whether or not it's worth the sacrifice of a minion play. For me, it's not an automatic yes. What do you think of Walking Castle? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe. Let's shut it down.